Please, how are we? For many of you, you will have already seen the Joker Folie à Deux trailer, or Joker 2 trailer. Earlier today, we did a reaction. Obviously, it's been out for a couple of hours now, three or 4 hours. But I just thought it might be nice just to go through it. It was so rich. There's so much in it, and I love sharing an enthusiasm, but I also love all of the kind of stuff that you highlight for us or highlight for me when you watch something. There'll be stuff there that you know about. For example, Harvey Dent's voice. That passed me by. Bloody hell. Who's Harvey Dent? Two-Face? Is that his name? Two-Faced or whatever? Anyway, there's always stuff beneath the surface, isn't there? There's always other stuff. Hi, Nenad. Hope you're well. You enjoyed the trailer, didn't you, sir? What do you think, Nenad? I hope you don't mind me sharing this thought. Nenad thinks it could be Joaquin Phoenix could be the first actor to win more than one Oscar for playing the same part in two different films. Could we be looking at a Joker situation in which the sequel is every bit as good as the first film, but possibly is even better, or is so different it's not better or worse? It's just, oh my God, you can't imagine life without both of these films. It was an absolute. So the order of play. What I thought we could do is I'll play the trailer now, watching it in the box down the bottom for those of you who haven't seen it all, and then I thought we could tread through it step by step and unpack some of its wondrousnesses, some of its cornucopia of treats and delights, therein. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do. Look at this. Check this out, guys. This is so cool. Patrick Soul, Lady Gaga's "Let Them Give What They Want" was perfect. So look. See that up there? That's amazing, isn't it? Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to plop we're going to watch it in its entirety. It's 2.5 minutes. Let's watch it together. Let's do it again. This is the second time. I've watched it. Nenad, what are you saying? Let's have a look. Nenad, all I wish is that people are going to be open-minded about this movie like they were with Joker. I agree. And I just hope there isn't going to be an enormous trolling campaign for Lady Gaga. It seems like the first thing that happens with any new film or any new project or anything is everyone looks for the way in which they can pull it down rather than stand it up. And there were a lot of people pulling down the first Joker. A lot of people didn't like the first Joker. A lot of people thought it was the Emperor's New Clothes, or that it was an amalgamation of so many other films and had little originality in itself, which I find that staggering. That's like to suggest every film isn't influenced by every other film. Everything influences everything. Everything is derivative of it. You wouldn't have genre films if films weren't derivative of each other. Do you get me? Anyway, let's chuck it on. Let's watch it. Yeah.
2 years ago, the name Arthur Fleck hit Gotham like a hurricane.
The trial of the century.
They believe Arthur Fleck to be some kind of martyr. Well, he's not. There's a monster.
When you're smiling, when you're smiling,
when I first saw Joker, when I saw you,
the whole world smiles with you.
for once in my life, I didn't feel so alone anymore.
When you're laughing, oh, when you're laughing. For once in my life, I have someone who needs me.
How about you, Arthur? Do you still think you're a star?
Showtime. The whole world smiles with you.
You can do anything you want.
The sun comes.
You're Joker.
Look around! Look at all these people!
Bring on.
I will no longer allow any of you
So stop your sighing.
to keep me down!
Be happy again.
I got the sneaking suspicion that we're not giving the people what they want.
It's okay, baby. Let's give the people what they want. Sing hallelujah. Come on, get happy. Get ready for the judgment day.
Ooh. Ooh, sir. Ooh, sir. Well, I mean, you know, what can we say? Goosebumps. It feels layered. It completely removes the fear that we all had surrounding the fact that it's going to use music and how it's going to use music. They're not all going to be singing perfectly. They're not all meant to have perfect voices. They're not all going to be, well, they are going to be high kicking and all that kind of stuff. But it looked rich. In the stair scene, says Nenad, where they were dancing, Harley looks pregnant. Does she? Okay, well, look, let's push through it. Let's have a little step through. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to add it to the... So there we go. And we're going to run through it. Beautiful. I mean, just first things first, the grading on Joker and Joker 2. Grading is... Everyone deals with grading these days, even if they don't know they deal with grading. If they're on social media, all of the filters, all of the different kind of washes and hues and, just the different color saturation, vivid, cool, dramatic, cool. But of course, they've gone for just something that's very, very sort of sumptuous, but dark and earthy and quite sort of, what's the word? Sort of grimy and urban and gritty. That's the color palette all the way through it. So
2 years
nice
ago,
big
the
wide
name
shot there.
Arthur Fleck.
There he is, heading in under arrest, heading off for trial, presumably after the trial of after killing everyone at the TV studio in the first Joker. There he is sitting in his car, and again, look at that, just that wonderful design of the size of that window and the grated, that grate kind of against his face, giving us some sort of noir kind of things.
Hit Gotham like a hurricane.
Now, that voice, by all accounts, that voice is the voice of Harvey Dent, who, I have to confess, I'm not au fait with all of the intricacies of all the characters, but Harvey Dent is another sort of antagonist within the DC world, within the Gotham City world. I think does he get his face covered in acid or something, and then kind of becomes as dark and twisted a sort of villain as the Joker. So there we go, passing through. Look, the driver. You wouldn't want to be in the car with him, would you? You wouldn't want to be in the car with him. He's looking at him like, is he going to go? Is he going to lose his shit? Is he monstrous? Has he got the capacity to get out of any situation? He's deeply disturbing, is that?
Some kind of martyr. Well, he's not. There's a monster.
Now, what I find interesting about this, is he a martyr? Is he a monster? Let's just pause for a moment and think about the fact this is going to air, this is going to land in October, not long before the American election. We're going to be at the epicenter of an election campaign in America, where you could say now, that quite justifiably, that since the assassination attempt, Trump could be described as a martyr and as a monster. He's a martyr to those who believe in his cause, though he'd have been more of a martyr if he died, and he's a monster. But he's both. But what I like about this scene here, where he's laughing, look at him here. He's testing the laughter. I find that. Watch this.
Well, he's not. There's a monster.
Is he testing the laughter? He can't help it. But it's not like a laughter at something. It's like an eruption, isn't it? It's an eruption. It's an eruption of whatever kind of psychosis or deep disturbances are going on in him. That's why I think his laugh is so clever. I think this is why Joaquin Phoenix is so... I mean, I think a lot of people would look at his performance, this character go, it's a bit fucking weird, isn't it? It's a bit extreme, all this kind of loud laughing and extreme cackling. It's incredibly considered. It's incredibly nuanced, actually. If you look at how he comes into a laugh and out of a laugh, It's astonishing. And and in fact, it's not the laugh that speaks to his madness. It's the cut off at the end, and it's the moment before he starts laughing. And of course, here he arrives with his audience. Look, there they all are. Look, with their masks. Capitol Hill. I mean, the parallel I'm drawing, because the thing about his characters, we feel sympathy for him. I mean, you could argue no one feels sympathy for Donald Trump, not even Republicans. But now they do, now that he's had the attempt on his life. But look, there's his crowd, both his crowd. They've all got a mask of him. There's the narcissist in this. There's the, oh, I'm being heard, a revolution. I mean, let's not forget, because the whole original idea, I think the reason Joker, the first film, kind of spoke to so many people, he was one of the 99%, wasn't he, that doesn't get heard. When he talks to like his mental health expert or his social carer, and he talks about the fact that they care for certain types of people, but they don't care for us, ordinary, everyday bods, the normal people. And I think that was both what many people felt was the dangerous message, was that it was going to mobilize so many people who feel disenfranchised and don't have a voice. But this is kind of, rather than thinking about it in terms of, oh, he's an incel creator, because he's not. He speaks to people who don't feel heard, and he's a kind of cautionary tale, isn't he, Joker, as to what could happen, what can happen if you just purposefully ignore the voices of these people. If you don't let people be heard, they twist and turn into it's radicalization. You could argue that the whole Joker story is radicalization. He's been ostracized and kind of held aside.
When I first saw Joker.
Oh, when I first saw Joker. Now, the first trailer had this shot. You're led to think, is she an inmate? I think we all know she's a musical therapist, or she's certainly the psychotherapist that kind of falls in love with him. But I tell you what I feel from this trailer, and you get a few clues further down the way. It feels like she's got herself in there. It's not that she happened to work there and then the Joker comes in. I think she's got the job there because she's seen him. And we'll see the shots in a minute where she saw him.
When I saw you.
This moment is so, I'm going to have to use the word, it's so sexy. And it's so just damn romantic. This is like dark romance, blowing your brains out. I mean, this is everything, and it's suicide, it's homicide, it's fratricide, it's togetherness. I mean, my God. The whole world smiles with you. What's in a smile? I mean, obviously we've got that whole horror film Smile coming, haven't we? I mean, the whole thing is so meta and subtextual, isn't it? About smiling.
For once in my life.
Look.
I didn't feel so alone anymore.
Look, she sees him blow a kiss. She does the old classic and throws a bin through the window. And she grabs a telly. I love that. A bit of looting. Well, I don't love a bit of looting, but it's like a memento. And the way she grabs it, it's like it's hers to be had. It's like, because he's blown her a kiss through that telly is now a totem of love. It's now a symbol of devotion. She's got to have it for herself, because is that the first moment she sees him? I think it might be. Is that what leads her to getting into the Arkham Asylum, to then have singing lessons with him, turn the key in his head? Now, I think all of this stuff speaks to, a number of things, really. How is she going to be represented? Is she going to be his torturer? Is she going to be his partner? Is she going to be his enabler? Is she going to be the one who kind of, in a sense, or just his lover? And is she going to be the drive behind him? Because I think this film has to be very careful in one particular area. I think it has to be really careful if it goes near to suggesting, because of course, folie à deux. I think they have to make it a shared kind of symbiotic kind of descent into madness. Because if they make her the main cause of it, then you've got that classic trope of, well, it's not his fault, it's her fault. Do you get me? And I don't know if that'd be a good line to take, even if that is what the character's about. So I think power, agency, who's in control, are either of them in control? Or is it simply this FOLIE? Do they have a shared, insane space that they're occupying? Evening Mark says, Reese, yeah, that moment is pitch black in terms of darkness, but yet it concretely epitomizes their attraction to each other intellectually and spiritually. Couldn't put it better myself. That's wondrously put. Oh, now, at this point, the dad in me, though I'm old enough to be probably his brother, I think, it's like, fucking hell, mate. Since I've seen this shot, I've really, really got a trapped nerve in my right shoulder. And I don't know whether it's because secretly I've been trying to emulate that, deeply emaciated, very challenging, very difficult, and a bit of method going on, here. Now, look at that. Who's ever had a packet of matches that lights that brightly? Look at the framing on that. So much going on, and I think if you look, can you see on the bottom left on the sheet music? There are sort of bloodied scratch marks or magic marker marks or something like that. I mean, look at the windows, the shutters, the bars, the light source, the immense blast of match light. Is she lighting up a spliff? Is it a doobie? Is she lighting a doobie, or is she about to set fire to something? Oh, has she set fire to now? They're projecting something, so they're showing a film. We've got music being played. And this shot here is just beautiful. Look at that. The light, the green, the yellow, stunning. And look at them all moving to the right. Really, this was the moment when I watched it the first time, I was thinking, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. And look at how she's being led by him or leading him, and they're all heading towards the light. This is an asylum. This is an insane asylum losing its shit. And that shot, look at that. On the left, you've got that classic kind of projector light. This is a fictional love. This is a crazy sort of love, a crazy kind of. On the right, you've got essentially a piano in flames, and you've got an empty audience, and you've got them in profile. And this is like an image of twisted. This is like, what is it? A beautiful disaster. That's the phrase you use. A beautiful disaster of love. I mean, and I think the thing about romance is true romance. True romance is actually really dark and twisted, because, and we've talked about this before in our marriage podcast. If you go into what being in love is about, you're actually really wanting something of someone. Yeah, for nice reasons, but you're kind of demanding something of someone. It's a fine line sometimes between devotion and claustrophobia and asking for too much and control and all that kind of stuff. So I think this is going to be a really interesting film about a sort of, dual kind of coercive control. And I just think an image like that, what not to like? And if you want to say this is shallow, derivative, sling your hook, matey. Oh.
For once in my life, I have someone who needs me.
How about you, Arthur?
Oh, Brendan Gleeson.
Do you still think you're a star?
Do you still think you're a sir? Mom, I'm sure you're looking at this thinking he reminds you of someone very close to you there. Smug. What's Brendan Gleeson driving at? Is Brendan Gleeson a bit of a torturer in there? Is he pushing him? Are they the flip side? I've got a feeling that the Brendan Gleeson Joker Arthur Fleck kind of relationship is going to be, that idea that actually there's a very thin line between being a policeman and being a criminal. Your relationship with the line of the law is very tight. So it's not surprising to me when you get or you hear of policemen who are kind of corrupt, and there's a fine line. And I just wonder whether Brendan Gleeson, and who's essentially, the idea is he's free, and Arthur Fleck here isn't free. Are they the flip side of the same man? Is Brendan Gleeson going to be the kind of man who doesn't sort of go down the route that Arthur Fleck has?
Showtime.
I love all this shit. Presumably inside his head, inside her head. La La Land musical. I mean, look at the contrast on that light. quite something. I mean, the thing is, you don't know how much of that is going to be digitally enhanced. I'm sure it has been, but wow. And the smoking, not afraid to have a fucking cigarette in a film. Thank fuck for that. Yeah, that's good. Dark, the green. There's something about the Joker green that just kind of gets under the skin. It's almost like it speaks to death and the corpse, you know, the colours of a body. It reminds me of, you know, the painting of flesh and stuff like that. It's dark and underbellyish.
Smiles with you.
You can do anything you want.
You can do anything you want. Is she passing a cigarette into his mouth there? They're doing a bit of blowback there. Are we going to add a bit of spliff in there? Is there going to be some kind of cannabis-induced psychosis? Nurse Ratchet style villain in Arkham, says Unforeseen. And do you think it might be older Brendan Gleeson? Here we are. It's court. We've got a court case like no other being televised. See the camera there. Showtime. So the court case is going to be fucking theatricals. Again, parallels with Trump, guys. Fucking weird, isn't it?
The sun comes.
You're Joker.
Oh, here we go. A bit more of that laugh. He uses it to kind of say, get away from me. Now, this was in the first teaser, and wow, she's rubbing blood on her mouth and turning it into a smile, turning a frown into a smile. And by, you know, I think the idea is that the guy, sort of, this is in the courtroom, this is the judge, this is the court case. Again, have they flipped into their psychotic episode? Have they flipped into the Harley and Joker show? And has the guy behind that, which I've seen, I think Ninad, you sent me some stills, has he had his head shot off or his head split or something like that? But again, a scene of extreme violence. Now, what's interesting is we're about to see something that's very violent. And if they've shown this, what haven't they shown us yet? That's what I want to know. You ready?
Look around. Look at all these people. Bring on. I will no longer allow any of you.
So stop your song.
Steve Coogan interview in prison. Not Steve Coogan's the only beat at the moment that I find a bit odd in the casting.
To keep me down.
This was one of the first images of Harley Quinn that came out. Wow. I mean, I'm sorry. She might be batshit crazy, likely to carve your heart out with a spoon and turn it into sushi. But I want to get into that lift with her. I don't care. There's a certain type of personality. I don't care how mad they are. I want to get in that lift. And yeah, she can eat me for dinner. I don't care. There's the show.
The suspicion that we're not giving the people what they want.
It's okay, baby. Let's give the people what they want.
Oh, let's give the people what they want. So is she just massaging his madness? Is she just nuzzling him along the route to full, you know, I mean, let's not forget, they're both complete fucking nutcases, aren't they? In the comics, they're nutcases. Yeah. Now, this shot, that is a Renaissance painting. Look at it. Look at the bodies on the floor, the source of light, the explosion in the air, the arms, the way the bodies are all moving to the right, the blowback on that sort of chandelier at the top there, the explosion. Stunning. And whatever the CGI, whatever the visual effects there, absolutely stunning imagery. So if you come to this film wanting to say, the cinematography is derivative. It's like, it's a bit New York, Taxi Driver. Well, I fucking love those films. New York and Taxi Driver are excellent, fucking brilliant films. Who wouldn't want the style, look, feel, and nature of films like those to have been extended and accentuated? Yeah, again, I don't understand the criticism that the first film came in for. I really don't. It's like, I just think people wanted to say they didn't like it. It's so good. Oh, again, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest moment here. I can't get, and I think because I've been in and I'm saying this, I've been in an asylum, I've been in a rehab center, I've been not sectioned exactly, but you know, I can't get enough cinematic loop the loop asylum freak out riots. They're always good. They're always interesting. And the great thing about mad people, and I speak as a mad person, is you never fucking know what's going to go where and what's going to hit you next. You just don't. Certainly not in a film. Now, judge me now, judge me not. Now, I felt as a gavel, the kind of judges. I felt it was a bit big for a kind of judge's gavel. I think my feeling there is that it was a kind of halfway between gavel and Harley Quinn's mallet. Nenad, this is the original design of Harley Quinn. Let's have a look. She should appear only in the animated series once, but the audience loved her. The Margot Robbie design is not the original, but great too. It's a celebration of filmmaking, which has been sorely missed in recent studio movies. I totally agree. To even take modern audiences, or to even if modern audiences are unaware of what the historic filmic references are, how wonderful that we have a filmmaker in Todd Phillips who's willing to mine it all, recycle it all, and kind of mix it and regurgitate it and represent it to us all with such a powerfully well-drawn, thought-through, considered couple of characters now, for an audience to digest now. I feel films like this this is a mainstream superhero film that is striving and succeeds at being, as did the first film, of being incredibly film literate. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I don't see how that can be a bad thing. It's like I have this interesting feeling about, when people say, oh, come on, I quite enjoyed Twisters the other day. I really did. But, one of the things that made Twisters good was they put some effort into some of the sequences that they shot. They didn't just, pull a camera back and just have a wide. They took some time and thought in shooting and editing sequences. Now, it sounds like a pretty damn obvious thing to say. But my thing about mainstream tentpole, blockbuster, whatever it is, can't you just go to the cinema and enjoy a film? You can make mainstream entertainment well, or you can make it really badly. And sometimes when you come from the business, when you make films, when you've seen films, when you've studied films, it gets annoying when you see how lazy filmmakers have been in doing that. And many members of the audience don't know that they're being conned essentially by a piece of cheap shit. And actually, when you're watching it, that they could have done it in a much more, well crafted and clever way. And I think that's what this film provides. Ooh. I love the bit here. Look, she's about to give a right old heave-ho. Yeah.
Sing hallelujah. Come on, get happy.
Look at her there. This is a Judy Garland song, is it?
Ready for the judgment day.
Oh. Oh. Hang on a minute. That was, you're never going to top that final shot of the teaser, right? Where she drew the kind of, with her lipstick, the smile, and then he parked his face behind it, of which, incidentally, there is an augmented reality lens or filter or whatever you can use on Instagram or something for that. You're never going to be able to better that. But I thought that moment there where he goes from, Judgment Day, and then walks off and then turns around and then smiles. His dislocation, his discombobulation is so fascinating to watch. I could just look at his face for hours. You could just have, you can, and they did in the first film. You could just look at his face for hours. But equally, Lady Gaga coming into this, wow, just with the limited little bits and bobs that are in that trailer there with her opposite him. Talk about pressure to be able to come in and match that. And it looks like she already has. Astonishing. What not to like? Now, of course, everyone's entitled to their opinion. Some people aren't going to like it. But please, when you say you don't like it, rather than just saying, don't like it, say why. Explain why. I'm more interested in digging into what the reasons are, because sometimes you might find that the reasons are wrong. God forbid. Anyway, guys, I hope that was fun. Thank you for all of your comments. Let's have a look. Gaga was responsible for guide. Yes, you're right, Tez. Lady Gaga is, I think, musical director or musical researcher on the film. She's kind of been responsible for the choosing and selecting and I think the versions of the songs that they feature. I love that bit of the trailer too, says Shelley Silver. Yeah, I do too. Reese, Todd provides many Easter eggs for film buffs and casual cinema goers alike, which truly creates a rich cinematic experience that isn't just passive, but gets the brain tinkering whilst observing. Absolutely. And I think, in a sense, you've hit the nail on the head. I think the real mark of a brilliant filmmaker is that they give you everything. They give someone who wants to go deep into a film, they give them the depth to go deep and wanky and pretentious, but also historic and thematic and related to this and not just Easter eggs, which is like, oh, that references that and references that. That can get a bit tedious at times, though it's fun. I'm not so, but what I like is the layers of, like, they take you out to a song or they take you out to a performance, and that performance, the thematic of that film that performance is from, adds another layer to your understanding of this film. But what those filmmakers also do is, for those who aren't getting those riffs and references, it don't matter. You're just having a rip-roaring good time or dark time or twisted time in your cinema seat. Good on you. Anyway, guys, lots of love. I'm going to go and take Nadia some peanut butter on toast because I don't think she's feeling very well still. Well, she isn't, so there we go. All right, guys. I like the first. You like the first one more? You like the teaser more? Or you like, well, we haven't seen the second film. Yeah, I mean, look, teasers are always tighter. And there was always the risk of it unfurling a little bit more when they start to show you a little bit more, because you're going to get more of a sense of what the overall arching film is. But I have to say, on a second watch and really a third broken down watch, I thought, wow, it's rich. It's very rich.